Nothing else? Sure, so sir.
Wait a little bit longer for this, right? Oh, we have some participants online.
Yeah,
Attendees.
that's the applicant, I think.
Good evening, everyone. We're going to be getting started in a few minutes.
This is David, your architect.
Yeah, David's my applicant. And remind me, Zisser is our second, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
He will be the head of the SARC next year. Hello, good evening. We were just talking about you.
Only good things.
No, we are live on camera now, so.
Okay. And so that we don't have to do the introduction twice this time, the mic is definitely on.
Well, not yet. Oh, actually, it is, right?
Okay.
Yeah, like I said, this is on catch.
You were here last time. We had to, yeah. Okay.
There you go. Look at that join.
Right. I have my stuff. All right. Seeing that it is 6:32, I think we can get started. Welcome to the Site and Architectural Review Committee, or SARC, meeting of November 22nd, 2022. For the benefit of those joining us tonight, SARC is a subcommittee of the Planning Commission that provides feedback on the architectural design and site layout of proposed development projects before they're presented to the Planning Commission. By way of introduction, my name is Adam Bookbinder. As Vice Chair of the Planning Commission, I lead the SARC meeting. Tonight, we're also joined by my fellow Commissioner, Alan Zisser. In terms of conducting the meeting, for each item, I'll first announce the item, ask for a staff presentation, after which we may have some questions for staff. After that, we'll look for any input from the applicant representing the project if they're present, receive any additional public comments. Following this, we may have follow-up questions for staff, the applicant, or public speakers. We'll finish by providing our feedback on the project that will be forwarded to the Planning Commission. In terms of timing, as SARC meetings are scheduled immediately preceding the Planning Commission meeting, we have a hard stop at 7:20 p.m. Make sure we have enough time for discussion. We may need to ask the public comments be kept shorter, provided in writing following the meeting generally isn't an issue. Now, with that said, I see we have 2 items on the agenda. Are there any desk items or changes before we get started?
There are none.
Okay, our first scheduled item is, wait, I have this. PLN 2021-84, 1394 Monroe Avenue.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Buckbinder. We can get started. So this particular project site is an R110 zone property located in our San Tomas area neighborhood. It's one of our larger lots. It's 32,000 square feet and has a low density residential land use designation. So the applicant's proposal is to allow a 4,467 square foot single story, single family residence. And in consideration of the item, staff had pulled out 2 areas for consideration. The first being compatibility. Recognizing this building's a little bit more contemporary in style, and it also has a clear story roof, which includes somewhat complex shapes. But in the report, we identified how it mimics elements such as gable and hip roof styles. And then second was the commentary on scale and mass. The Santa Tomas area neighborhood plan discourages, or actually discourages the use of design elements that accent height, which this building is a 1-story building, obviously accomplishes. One other thing I'll mention just in general on this building, it's located, I think, more than 150 feet away from the public right of way. So it's kind of like an interior lot. So you got to go over, it's deep enough in the lot that it's not highly visible. It's at the end of a cul-de-sac. So with that, staff is finding, has no other comments. Staff is supportive of the item as presented, and we'll turn it back to the commission for comment.
I don't have any particular questions. Do you have questions for staff?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the only question I really had was, I was confused. I don't think it really affects anything, but I was confused about the note. The
Hold
note.
on, do we need to, because we lost the public meeting, we need to.
I believe so. Yeah, give me 1 second to reestablish. Somebody over there.
It says in progress. Are we still visible? Can we tell if anybody there can see us?
I still show participants.
Okay, just to make sure that we're still live, can somebody who's attending raise their hand if,
Okay,
okay, all right. Thank you, thank you. Just wanted to make sure, please continue.
all right. So I just had a question about, I read the small print. There's a note 3 below the picture, and it says, whereas the project plans depict the east property line as the front,
Mhm.
staff would measure the front setback along the north property line. And it doesn't actually make sense to me, so. Because the east property line is the front, you know, that's and then it faces east.
Right.
The house faces east, and the north property line is adjacent to another large property with another large house that's set back too. So I didn't really, I'm not sure if that changes the setback stuff, but I just want to call that out.
It does. So in the consideration of in this particular lot, it doesn't have direct frontage onto a public right of way. So typically we'll use that as a defining factor. In this particular case, it's one of the situations that we lack clear objective standards to dictate which side of the property is to be treated as the front or the side. I'll also offer that when we try to apply a front setback to property, we're typically trying to maximize the building envelope of a lot, such as the shorter edge of a property which shares a common interior terminus with the end of like a flag, like the access roadway,
Yeah.
will result in the least amount of property being encumbered by, say, a front setback. So as depicted on the plans, it kind of runs, I can pull it up here on the screen. The front setback would run the entire length of the property, which I think is over 150 on some feet deep,
Right.
versus running it in the other direction results in a shorter segment or smaller portion of the property
Yeah.
being encumbered by a greater percentage of setback. That said, the orientation of the home is a little bit distinct as well, because they are definitively orienting the home towards the, I guess you could say, towards the public right of way,
Right.
as it's been depicted. So it's more of a matter of how it's a different means to achieving the same overall operational goal, which is trying to get buildings to face the street and engage and create that kind of neighborhood presence, which again, orienting it this particular way lended that.
Well, I think it's oriented correctly. I still don't understand why you would say the north side of the property is the front, but.
Yeah, and all I can point to,
so,
yeah, all I could,
I mean, I was out there and I looked and, I looked at the adjacent property and they're side by side, both facing towards the end of Monroe, right? And they're both on the other side of the culvert. And they both are facing, and it's a long distance, right? There's whatever, 150 feet to the front doorsteps. So it would seem to me that it's common sense says that they're both facing east, but again, I don't know if that really changes the setback rules in terms of whether or not they're meeting the setback rules. It looks to me like there's lots of space, right? There's on the sides, on the north and the south.
so here to pull up that discussion point here on the screen. Sorry, it took me a minute to pull it up. So yeah, so the comment is that this edge here, although they kind of both intersect at that kind of that tight pinch point,
Right.
you have the what we're calling the front and what this other interior side or the other side front as being the front. What the material impact of the difference of those two standards would be if we were to measure this side as the front, they would need to meet a minimum of a 25-foot setback where only 20 feet has been provided.
Oh, I
So
see.
that would result in an additional 5 feet cutting into this 4-car garage. So that garage would need to be amended, pushed back in order to meet the 25-foot distance. And again, if you're looking at the typical frontage, it's a very long, if you're measuring it this way, again,
Yeah, I know it's an odd.
yeah, it's an odd lot and it doesn't actually have direct frontage into the public right of way. This area here also, if you take 20 feet back, shares that full driveway apron is coming into the front of the property. So we did look at it both ways, and that's why the comment was raised in the report. But because of the site layout, because it's unique, and because we don't have a clear.
Well, yeah, maybe
standard-
you have whatever it is, the water district or whatever that is that portion of the, between their property and the street. There's, you know, a lot of space because of the creek. And the space that the, I guess it's the water district has.
Right.
So I get it, okay. So it's kind of a technicality, just so that they have that lesser space there to the garage and that whole area that's on the south end of the property.
Yeah, I would offer 2 things. I would say first, it's a requirement for the site configuration as presented. And 2, it's a lack of a clear objective standard that we could impose any requirement to the contrary.
Right. I don't have any problem with it. I mean, I think it's, you know, it's a big piece of property and it's a big home. I like the look of it. I don't have any problems with the style. So that was really the only question I had, other than I think I got answered another question later in the information about the portion that's on the bridge. The access with the bridge is going to widen, and then there's a portion that's right by Monroe Court where it's, yeah, those sections there that are that I don't know if there's going to be an improvement there where they've got some area that's right by the curb.
Yeah, I would offer, so the way that we structure this report, the work with the bridge is outside of the scope of review, because these improvements, they occur outside of again, this is a different property.
That's a different
These are different distinct properties. So again, the focus of the site and architecture review permit is on the home and the architecture of the site on which this property is.
So those sections between the curb and the culvert, those 2 green areas, one for the one property on the right, one for the, you know, the 2 green areas are not, they're not part of the property, but who owns that? Somebody own that?
I believe there's 3, I believe there's actually 3 distinct property owners in play.
Those are tiny little.
Yeah, so you have a segment of the adjoining property to the southeast, whose property extends in front of the subject property.
Right.
You have the water district property, which runs for a portion of this culverted the creek here.
Yeah.
And then at the back of the culvert, beyond the Santa Clara County Water District property, does this property then begin? This is the front property here. So although they are depicting and showing all these improvements that are being proposed in this area, this is going to be reviewed under a separate permit.
All right. Okay.
Hats off to them for figuring out how to make all this work. Would the applicant like to speak? Is that David? Apologize if I'm not pronouncing that correctly.
Hello, hi, Commission. My name is Davide, actually.
David.
Yes, hi. Because only today I received the comments about the possible switching of the setbacks, and I didn't have much time to review that in detail. I understand there could be some impacts, and listening to your discussion, I just hoping to have a conversation with Stephen or some more clarification as to whether we need to squeeze the garage by 5 feet or not, because of course there will be some changes to the design in that case. I'm not so worried about the ADU adjustments that I read about it, but for the main house, it could be a little challenging. So any clarification that we can receive as to what consider front and side setbacks, or any, lenient approach that we can take, since as everybody mentioned, the house is tucked in the back, nobody will even see it and it's far from every side. That will be helpful. But of course, we will abide by any decision that you guys make.
So if I understand staff correctly, like the site layout here is in agreement with the setback requirements as understood by staff?
Yeah, so for the primary home, staff's recommendation is to measure the front setback along the northerly property line, in which the property would exceed the minimum setback back by 2 feet. So there need to be no adjustments to the 4-car garage or any other changes to the home or its site configuration.
Okay.
So the ADUs, again, for the focus of this permit's on the home, and the ADU is subject to ministerial review. So that's a separate permit and separate discussion that we'll have on how it complies with requirements.
Okay. But we're not, so in short, we're not asking them to change anything.
Correct. Yeah,
Okay.
staff is supportive of the project as designed.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are there any members of the public who would like to comment? Seeing none. The only comments I had were, I did not know that we had lots this huge in Campbell. It is truly titanic. I'm just amazed that you can have a house that big and still have a 0.16 FAR. As you see, it's a single-story house, a lot of space around it, and doesn't have any weird modern elements. Yeah, I have no complaints about this. This seems like exactly the sort of thing you would put in a lot like this. Presumably, whoever is going to live here really likes their space.
And yeah, I'll just repeat I'm fine with it. It's like, I was surprised to see this too. I've been to a lot of places in Campbell, and I used to live in South San Tomas area. But this is one of those places that used to be county land, and doesn't have the sidewalks, and there's a lot of odd large lots. This has got to be one of the bigger ones, if not the biggest. And I didn't even know it existed. I didn't live very far from there at one point. So I'd never been down Monroe, so it was kind of an interesting thing to see. The only other question I have is just for my edification, is with regards to the ADU. It's a whole nice design with the ADU next to it. It's got a 2-car garage, and it's got a lot of square footage. I'd probably answer this myself, but I just want to get comfortable. It's defined as an ADU because it's one parcel with a second structure, right? As opposed to a whole nother house. Okay, to be in a whole nother house would have to be a separate parcel. That's the way we kind of define things, right? It's like
Not under SB 9. SB 9 would allow for you to have 2 single-family homes, or you can even have a duplex on a single-family lot.
Also,
But-
general plan consistency with zoning.
Yeah, right.
by that prior to SB 9, I guess I was thinking of. But so even with SB 9, so we don't. I'm not sure if we have standards that are different based on an ADU versus a regular single-family home. In this case, right? So you would apply a different standard.
We do. So we have different height standards, locational, parking standards, everything for ADUs which are distinct primary home.
And but this is, we consider this as an ADU as it stands.
The unit in the back would be an accessory dwelling unit, correct?
Okay,
As presented.
all right, okay, it's cool. And I think the design is nice. I mean, there's a mishmash of designs in that neighborhood anyway. And like you said, it sits back and you can't even really see it behind the trees anyway. So it's not like it's going to stand out as a mega house or anything. So I'm good with it. I wish them luck.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time. All right, moving on.
Thank you.
Second item on our agenda is PL. Wow, we are exactly on time. PLN 2022-56 at 220 East Campbell Avenue and 22 South 2nd Street. Applicant is Tapio Zero, Campbell. Oh,
Thanks. One moment to log in here. Okay. Okay, so this item number 2 is a site architectural review, well, a conditional use permit with site architectural review for property located at 20 East Campbell and 22 South Second Street. So the project site is technically 2 parcels, one primary parcel, approximately 16,000 square feet in size, and a smaller secondary parcel of approximately 1,700 square feet as shown in the map here. The zoning district for this property is C3. It's the city's downtown central business district zoning district. The general plan designation that corresponds with that is central commercial. Just quick background, the subject tenant spaces that are part of this application were formerly occupied by the old Rocket Fizz candy store and Pilates Pilates studio. So that application for the conditional use permit and site architectural review would allow for the new restaurant with alcohol service, outdoor seating on the private sidewalk area, and exterior alterations to the 2 buildings to make them appear as one building and function as a single building, even though they span 2 properties, and that would be executed through a legal agreement that would be recorded on the 2 properties. Here we have the site layout showing the configuration of the site. This is somewhat cropped out because the 220 East Campbell property does go further south or further east to include some adjacent businesses as well as a private parking lot. And then you have the 22 South Second Street lot that includes a small parking lot. And this site plan shows also construction of a new trash enclosure that would serve the new restaurant space. In terms of architectural improvements, the 220 East Campbell facade is shown here. As noted in the staff report, there's a lot of cosmetic upgrades to the building to give it a refreshed appearance while maintaining the historic form of the building. Though it's not technically historic, it does maintain kind of a certain iconic appearance in the downtown that staff does believe is consistent with the design requirements for the C3 zoning district and the downtown development plan. A little different, however, in terms of the 22 South Second Street facade. The integration building is perfectly acceptable. There's nothing there that is inconsistent with our policies. However, this plan does effectively show the walling off of this existing storefront with this new wood paneling. The proposed floor plan shows the bathrooms against this wall, which results in the loss of that transparent storefront. So as noted in the staff report, both the C3 standards as well as the downtown development plan and general plan speak to maintaining open windows and displays, provide visual interest. So staff's recommendation to the SARC is to recommend to the Planning Commission a revision to the floor plan that would allow that Pilates 5 storefront to actually remain transparent to provide some vitality to the street. For example, this is a restaurant in Chicago, I believe, that has their pasta making section visible to the street that provides a level of visual interest. Obviously, that would require some reconfiguration of the floor plan, but this is a brand new restaurant, and what now is going to be an empty shell. And that concludes my presentation.
thank you. Any questions for staff?
Yeah, I had, I'll leave my comments for the aside later, but can I comment now?
Let's do questions first.
Okay, let's just question. So there was something you didn't really cover in terms of not recommending sidewalk
Seating.
seating, right? You didn't go over that, but it's in your
It's in the report.
It's in the report, right? And I actually kind of take issue with that. I don't think it would work based on what their concept looks like, because it's too far out. But if you compare that section of sidewalk going east to and you look at the Tercero and whatever it is, El Guapos. They both have outdoor seating that extends some distance out because that's an extra wide sidewalk there, and they have the extra wide sidewalk as well. So if you look at that block and the other two restaurants on that block, they extend their they do have seating out to it's like there's about a 5 foot clearance from the tree line area, and so there is room. There isn't as much room as what they're showing on there, I don't believe, but there is room to put at least a single line of tables, similar to say Flights.
Sure.
Flights is a similar situation.
Also to clarify, they are showing outdoor seating. It just happens to be on the private sidewalk area. So there is outdoor seating shown on these plans. What we're referring to is outdoor seating that would occur on the public sidewalk. So you see in the site plan here, this is the property line that's shown kind of approximate. It's a little difficult to tell, but a portion of this is public sidewalk, a portion is private sidewalk. So within their private sidewalk area,
Right.
the barrier for the outdoor seating that's actually shown on the plan would be the dividing line between the public and private sidewalk. But given the tightness of the sidewalk area, particularly with that street tree, public works staff is recommending no outdoor seating on the public sidewalk.
So
It's already, been challenged. To a large degree, this speaks to kind of a broader issue. The city probably needs to relook at its dining requirements for sidewalk seating. We've had a lot of pinch points throughout the whole downtown that have caused some accessibility issues and
yeah, I was gonna say, is this ADA compliant? You have a barrier right down the,
I'm sorry.
is this ADA compliant if you have a barrier down, the thick line is the public-private?
Correct. So
Okay,
because
so-
it's so narrow, that's why we're.
Yeah, so you have like one square between where the barrier would be and the tree. And I'm guessing that you can't.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not absolutely convinced. I mean, see, that rendition there would be too
Yes.
too wide.
Yeah, well, this rendition is also not, this is a slightly older version. That barrier, the planter is actually going to be pushed in further so that, again, all the sidewalk seating is on private property.
Yeah.
But-
So are you saying that they could do it as long as they keep it within that?
Yes. So yeah, and which they
Area.
have, which they are currently shown in their current plans, is just
Okay.
tucked in a bit more.
Okay.
It maintains
That's
the
fine.
public sidewalk area a bit more.
Yeah,
open.
like I said, if you look down the line, there is a break point.
Yeah.
All the way down that block. And the front of that building comes out a little bit more than the other buildings,
Correct.
about a foot or
Yeah.
something. So they have about a foot less to work with than the other ones, but there's still a fair amount for outdoor dining. Yeah, just the question of they wouldn't be able to put in a big barrier like that and be able to have people walk around, because it would, you're right, it would, in that kind of configuration, not going to give you clearance
Exactly.
on the sidewalk.
I have a question. Am I allowed to talk or comment at this point or? not?
That makes,
It's not terribly formal if you have a
Is this
sign in.
your,
Yes.
Go right ahead.
I was just gonna say that originally when we submitted, yes, we were encroaching into the sidewalk to the point that we just allowed the minimum required ADA, which was 4 inches.
Okay.
For circulation. And then based on comments from planning department, we pushed down to where the seating won't go past the property line.
Okay.
So we will never be having seating on the public right of way or the public sidewalk.
yeah, okay, yeah, I just read it that they didn't recommend outdoor dining at all, and it was like, it seemed to me there was room for outdoor dining.
Yeah, no, yeah, there is plenty of room. That it looks bigger in person actually for some reason.
I was actually
And-
there yesterday. I was taking measurements.
Yeah. No, me too. I did the same thing, but yeah. And then we, on the revised drawings that we submitted, then we only have two seaters, like
Okay.
two seats on parallel
Yes.
and against a wall.
Right.
Right, giving plenty of space for customer and personnel.
You could do something similar to what like Flights does, if
Yeah,
you're familiar with that.
no, I mean, I do, I was.
They have,
like,
they have the tables up against the wall.
Yes, we
But,
will be,
instead of- actually, they have a four, they say default to the table, but we still have room.
exactly, yeah. No, we have plenty of room for so 4 seaters, so 40 inches.
And there's no barrier. There's no room to put in a.
There is room to put a barrier,
I
there's
mean, if you
room for
put it,
circulation.
that'd be great, but,
Yeah,
So basically, it's gonna look like that, but just tucked in a bit more.
all right.
And so that barrier will be the.
Yeah, I just worry, I actually walk downtown a lot and, with the pandemic and everything, some places took a little bit extra.
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah, and the umbrellas are sticking out. I
Yeah.
always think somebody's gonna come by and hit the umbrella and
Are you
the
guys,
guy's gonna go out.
are you guys doing something regarding parklets? Because
Yeah, they are.
We have a park with
restaurants have everywhere. I've done restaurants everywhere. And now my clients are calling me back because now parklets are becoming permanent.
Right.
So now everything applies to it, ADA regulations, design regulations. So everybody has to tear down the parklets.
So we're putting in a
And
park,
rebuild them.
we're putting in a park with
Comprehensive.
formalized
Yeah.
policy.
Yeah, although the city is providing grants.
Grant funding.
Yeah, same deal. So it looks like everybody's implementing something
There are
similar.
some nice parklets in there now that some of the restaurants have already put in and there's, you got a couple spaces worth of.
Yeah, we'll
parking
look
for
into
this
it.
there, So.
Yeah, we'll look at it. I know it's a separate process, so. we'll look at it.
So that'll give you the extra, opportunity.
Because
Very much encourage you to look into parklets because it's always an improvement.
I've been doing restaurants most of my career and outdoor seating, one seat equals like 3 times the amount of money at an interior seat.
Really?
For the clients, right? For the owners. That's why everybody wants to have patios or outdoor seatings. That's why everybody fights for them.
Yeah.
And try to, that's why every time I talk to city officials, I try and to encourage, somehow to try to allow people to.
We like outdoor dining in downtown Camden.
It's beautiful, yeah, it's great, pulls people in,
Right.
it's
Yeah.
gives a better atmosphere, more.
So the thing about the side, I mean, my take on the side is I kind of agree with the staff's recommendation. This would be kind of unprecedented because of and in terms of having a blank wall. There isn't, I don't think there's any examples of that in downtown.
So
So the question is whether or not you can reconfigure.
there's 2 issues with that. So one is we have function form, right? So we try to, right now, what we're doing is try to find a middle ground between function form. But this goes beyond that. Now is feasibility, because these are 2 separate buildings, right? So, and we're just merging them in paper, right?
Right.
So you still have 2 separate meters, 2 separate gas lines, 2 separate everything. So if we try to reduce the back of the house, which what we call the back of the house, like kitchen, all of that. And if we don't take all of that, which it was already, we wanted to actually take more area and go into 2020 Campbell. But because that's kind of like pushing it, that's why we have the bar outside. So what we did is we separated what we could separate, which is the bar, because it basically operates by itself, and the pizza oven, because it doesn't join on the system together on the HVAC system or the hood system with the rest of the equipment. So if we, let's do the exercise very quick, and we decide to move this block and go like this to give this clear area here for sitting, we'll have to split the entire kitchen system into 2 separate systems of water, gas, electricity. We'll have 2 panels to control. So here, by having all the back of the house there, It's like from the point of view of construction, administration, project coordination.
I get the fact that you're using it for the back of the house. So you got restrooms on the street side
Yes.
at the top. And then I don't know if that's in this is in our packet, but, so what else is there? Where's the kitchen?
So cook line, can I stand up?
Yeah.
So this is the cook line.
That's the
Right.
cook line.
Daniel, can you point with your pointer so people seeing online can see what he's pointing to?
So cook line here, prep area, normally you want them close together. And then buzzer station, dishwashing, right? And then ideal function or circulation of a kitchen is to have this loop, right? So they don't, hit each other coming in and out of the kitchen.
Yeah.
Right, that's why we have this lobby to go to and it's pretty wide, so you can have a differentiated route for customers going to the restaurants and then personnel going into the kitchen.
Okay, that makes sense.
So
So you can't put the cook line up.
we try, I swear, we
You can't put the
try,
Cook line on that side.
try, and also
I understand.
Are we
going past,
still live?
Yeah.
I think we're still live. I still see participants on there. Okay.
and besides that is being done so many restaurants, seeing how some success, some fail. A greater, a good restaurant layout, it pushes the back of the house to the back of the building, right? We have tried to do L-shaped dining areas, and one side is going to take you to the restaurants.
Right.
Becomes a restroom hallway. Nobody likes to sit there.
Right.
It's not nice.
Right.
So that's why we normally try to deflect from doing L shape. And then now, if this was a shopping center, where everything is glass, and when we do restaurants and shopping centers and we're on corners, then we're forced to do that. And you will right now remember every time you go to a restaurant, a shopping center that is all fenestration on both sides. On both sides, you will remember that one sideways becomes a hallway to get into the restaurant, because the restaurant needs to be pushed against the kitchen or the back of the house. Because if not, it becomes really expensive and it's not ideal to run water pipes everywhere and sewer lines.
So if I can sum up the like the front of house, you have the diners close to the windows and the bar and utilities
Yes.
on this side. And on the back of the house, you have, the kitchen stuff sort of on this side.
Yeah.
To match up with that, which
Exactly.
makes sense.
Also, following design guidelines from the downtown, it does encourage the use of vegetation or landscaping we have as a light wall. And then we're not leaving a blank wall, which is what the guidelines don't want you to do, right? So we're doing that planning along we design inside at the same time. So we're using 3 of the 4 elements that are encouraged, right? Signage, landscaping, and some architectural elements.
So is there gonna be signage on the side?
Yeah, if you can show the rendering, it's part of the landscape, like we have.
Oh, it's part of the landscape.
Exactly, it's together with this,
Okay.
right? Like, so it's like a live wall with design on it, kind of like Italian way to, like make it look more. And then, also the other issue is, it's substantially way more expensive. And I know the type of restaurants that Dana is referring to. I love them, they're beautiful, right? To have them open to the public so everybody can see. It's not the prettiest thing when my kind of restaurants are very busy, right? Kitchen is super frantic because the food is so good, it's always busy. Monday, the Mountain View restaurant in downtown is 200 reservations on a Monday. And it's crazy. The kitchen gets crazy. And also when you want to expose your kitchen like that, which we don't really have the budget because of all the improvement we already have to do to this building, we'll have to tile the walls instead of just putting FRP, or we'll have to do stainless steel. It's more money. It's like, and I did a little table analysis of fenestration, and we're losing not even 10% of fenestration. It's very minimal because we're adding that big window over there, right? So we're not just taking some of that facade, which is not very attractive anyways. And, you know, we're adding another big window there into the dining, so you can see the bar, the ambient, the
Yeah.
atmosphere, that.
I like what you're doing. I walk by Rocket Fizz almost every day. So, and I was like, I don't know about that. I like what you're doing to the front building a lot. I mean, I think it's a nice design. I guess my question is there any other choices we have, assuming you can't reconfigure, is there, I mean, I have one idea that I'll just throw out, maybe the same idea that you have about a mural, but as opposed.
We love murals. We have murals on every restaurant.
So that would be another idea. You know, there's a mural in Lower Glen on the side of a restaurant there. I think it's a French restaurant. It's quite lovely. It's like a street scene.
If a mural will approve this, I'll shake your hand right now. We do a mural.
Just need me.
Yeah,
We love murals.
That's
I swear to that. I'll send you a picture. We're doing a mural right now. I'm doing a restaurant in Mountain
So I'm
View.
just thinking of a different, I mean, the wood paneling is nice, but it is pretty blank.
Yeah.
Okay, and so I'm just thinking of other possible. choices.
Anything that is not opening a window,
I-
I'm open to. We're all open.
Honestly, that was my thought, like put a mural there and maybe a bench. I think you have room where you can like put.
Honestly, we didn't know you guys. A lot of people don't want murals.
so I'm gonna.
This is a strength. That's why I'm like, I'll shake your
The thing
hand
with
right now.
murals is that they're art, so they're constitutionally protected against city regulation. So if this faces a mural, it will look however they want it to look. And any subsequent owner of this business, I mean, we really will have no regulatory control at all.
In terms of
Its appearance. You will not be able to
maintain it necessarily.
opine on the appearance of the mural in any way.
So it can be however hideous or obscene somebody decides.
I'll show you pictures of
art.
our murals. They're very tasteful.
I assume that like, if you're a restaurant, you won't put something unappetizing on the outside, but I do understand there's a risk. With
Right, I
public
understand.
art.
Yeah,
But there's a
we're not
lot
gonna
of,
do
there's a
a-
lot of good murals that people put in downtown areas, and we don't have that many. And there's been a desire to do more public art, so.
All right, let's.
So, you know, there's two
Done.
sides of
I'm
the issue.
sold. Let's do
No,
the
I'm
mural.
just one commissioner,
We're just
and
two people.
we're just two commissioners,
28%
and
of
there's
the
also a
commission.
civic improvement commission that supposedly gets involved in that kind of stuff, although I don't know if they would on this, but it becomes a little bit of messy thing about how to get the mural approved, but it was just an idea.
Question now. So you just don't see a mural, right? There is more elements to it, right? Like you were mentioning something else, like a bench or something.
Yeah, we've been talking.
Because, like,
having places
because-
for people to sit.
Talking about the mural, right? Like, so we definitely keep the window, right? Like, and then we're talking about this section, right?
Yep.
This is what we're talking about.
Yes.
So when you see the mural, you see the entire wall converted into mural.
I do.
Done.
Again.
Sold. I used to, like we have even artists come from Argentina and stuff to do murals on our restaurants. We do it all the time. Like I don't think we have one single restaurant that we done in the last 5 or 6 years without a mural. Normally inside. So this will be the first time outside.
Okay, but again, we're not the approving body.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So.
But like,
You know, Daniel's like cringing over. it,
The
right?
whole idea is that we give our opinions here and hopefully they'll be somewhat representative of the planning commission.
The recommendation is conveyed to the planning commission.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
It helps inform the staff recommendation as well.
Yeah. Well, unless there are other possible choices.
So just a
I mean,
question,
I like the idea of possibly of having, plantings and things like that too. So I mean, that was a good idea in terms of having,
Maybe it's
but
maybe there is some process of design there with the murals and plants or
maybe
something.
there's some planters too on the side. I don't know.
It's not a big sidewalk. That's why we couldn't do much about, producing something that can be interactive with people or something, other than just people walking by and looking
Yeah.
inside. But yeah, a mural will be great because it's flat, doesn't add. We have the artist already.
Yeah.
She's painting the mural right now as we speak in the restaurant Mountain View. She's from Portland. Yeah.
Like, this is one of the things that just more broadly, one of the things I've been saying is that it's a lot more expensive to do articulation and you can do ornamentation of some kind instead. You get something that's roughly as pretty and it costs a lot less. Anyway, so
Okay, so if I'm hearing correctly, that both of you are okay with the general concept of removing the storefront glazing,
Yes, as long as there's something
the replacement.
visually interesting. and-
That's
Yeah.
not this or something else.
I think a mural would be better than that.
Yeah, I think we both agree that
We all
based on,
agree.
based on your explanation of the problems in-house, which by the way, you need to do in front of the planning commission. If I were to recommend, what you explained to us, they're gonna want to hear too.
Sure, 100%. yes.
And because of the nature of the difficulty of configuring that part of the building, you know, is they're gonna want to be informed about that, so.
Okay.
That's my take on it.
So it's like the planning commission, is it, how many?
There's 7 of us,
Here,
Seven of us.
7, okay.
and then you'll be scheduled
And then is
Oh,
you do,
someday.
I'm terribly sorry. I did not ask if there were members of the public that wanted to comment. We kind of just went to commenting, just wanted to make sure that there are no attendees. Okay, we're members of the public do not apparently want to comment.
so it's you 2 and 5 civilians?
We're all
Say it
civilians.
somewhere.
Yeah, we're all.
We're all
we're
citizens.
volunteers. Yeah, it's us.
They're all
other
volunteers.
You're
volunteers.
all architects? No?
No, we have no architect.
My,
Yeah,
The architect.
city planner. So this planning commission, they are residents of the city. They're appointed by the city council.
yeah, you could just be anybody.
Like every other, so
We can, well, there's no special
Yeah,
requirement.
you just have to like.
To be a
looking at maps.
commissioner. Yeah,
no, I done it at my plenty of time, but I normally ask how many, because not every city is 7,
Yeah,
sometimes
Yeah.
5.
Yeah.
You know, most
so,
of the time 5.
so where are we in this process? There's this,
They are scheduled, was it,
10.
first January meeting, yeah.
January 10.
Right. so yeah, you'll, I don't know if all 7 of us will be there, but you'll be in front of the planning commission.
All right,
And they'll present it just like presented today.
But to that extent, I mean, was there enough time to prepare kind of a preliminary concept for the mural?
100%, yes, done by next week. So question though, so we need to, regarding the mural, does it have to be like, kind of like, does it have to show like a mural, like kind of like the idea that we want to do, or just show that we're doing a mural here?
You know, I'll give you a suggestion. I was on the Civic Improvement Commission. I actually helped get a mural put in down the street on the side of the wall. And I did some other things with public art. So, and it's not my expertise, but I have some experience. My recommendation would be to show examples of murals
Yes,
that you
100%.
had done.
yeah,
Okay, so we get a view of what can be done and how the kind of quality they are.
Yeah.
Rather than, this is it, okay, but my take would be.
We can have the meeting at the
It
restaurant
would be
with some
relevant,
food.
would be relevant to the restaurant. Like I said, I think there's a mural on a sidewall of Below Glen on the side of a French restaurant, and it's a French street scene, right? And it's got a wine bottle and stuff like that. So it's relevant to the restaurant. So I'm not telling you what it should be, but if you have murals inside your restaurant, I'm assuming that they're relevant to
Yes, yes.
what you do.
There. Yeah, for this restaurant Monterrey we're doing is a Spanish tapas restaurant. So the background is inspired by Guel Park in Barcelona, which it has a lot of mosaic, little
I've
tile
been there.
pieces. So
I've been.
the background is kind of like fragmented, like if it was a mosaic, and in front of it, like the front is like a flamenco dancer, but just a face, like with Spanish features and stuff.
Cool.
On the Italian restaurant that we did, because it's from the south of Italy, it has the colors from south of Italy, so we have blue and turquoise for the water, and then the artist painted a very nice picture of a very young and good-looking Sophia Loren, but very artistic, right? And then the other mural is kind of like the name of on a different font type, the name of the restaurant, or that diverts from the actual logo, with plants from typical flowers from Italy and stuff like that. So
I just don't want to set your expectations too high, because there are other commissioners and
not everybody is, yeah.
not every
I know.
Disagree
Yes,
about things.
100%. Yeah.
would necessarily.
It's a majority
Take a
vote, majority, right?
vote.
Majority
Take a vote.
yeah.
So question in terms of then, if this element goes away, We're thinking continuing the wainscot treatment across the building.
I think that would be reasonable, especially if you're gonna put benches there so that you'll have sort of like the benches and above that mural.
Yeah, we generally try to have a more resilient base material because stucco really gets damaged up fast in downtown along the.
So
Also,
what
it
it-
will protect whatever art it is.
What is that section?
Split stone. Split stone.
Oh, stone.
Okay.
So this way the mural would be above the wainscot line.
All right. It is at 7:20. We do have a hard stop, but I think we've covered.
What was your name again?
Oswaldo.
As well.
Thank you for coming in.
Oh, no, thank
for
you.
your time.
Thank you guys for having me.
Good luck on this.
Yeah, looking
Thank you.
forward to seeing something in the.
Nobody's more looking forward than us. Like
Yeah.
we've been waiting on it for like a long time, so hopefully it moves forward.
Okay.
Good.
All right, well,
All right.
over to planning commission.
Okay.
Thank you guys.